What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods with our first Week 11 college football preview. And as y'all know, here on the Bluebloods, we start with our game of the week. So that means if you're new, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and go ahead and comment your score predictions below. If you get the exact score and the winner predicted right, you win our $50 Venmo giveaway. So make sure to do that now. Even if you're an old subscriber, new subscriber, man, appreciate y'all tuning in. But we have a giant, extremely important Big 12 matchup this weekend going down in Waco, Texas, as we have Oklahoma traveling down to McLean Stadium to take on the Baylor Bears, and the Sooners are 5.5 point favorites as I'm recording on Monday night, man. In a game that kicks off at 11 a.m. Central Time live on Fox. And this one has major college football playoff implications, Big 12 championship implications across the board for both of these teams in this matchup. And last weekend's loss for the Bears really added some extra importance this weekend for Baylor. And also the Sooners coming off the bye week have a lot to prove. So let's set the table before we get into the game. The Sooners come into this one 9-0, 6-0 in the Big 12, have a whole lot to show the committee after they were dropped all the way to number 8 in the initial college football playoff polls. The new rankings drop tonight. As you're probably watching this as we drop this episode on Tuesday, I would imagine they're going to move up to probably 7 or 6, but we're going to see. But they're still going to have a lot to prove in terms of proving they deserve one of those final four spots. And really and truly, it's because this team has looked completely different since their quarterback change to Caleb Williams. And this is going to be a huge road test for him and this Lincoln Riley squad to show that they are going to be one of the top teams in college football moving forward. This is a giant ranked win on the road for their resume, and the Sooners have to come out this game and win impressively. Now, for Baylor, this matchup was arguably going to be a top 10 matchup, but the Bears enter 7-2, 4-2 in the Big 12, and they're looking to rebound from their 2 point loss to TCU last weekend, bring in a tough defense led by Dave Aranda, a strong rushing attack into McLean Stadium, and hope to use the environment and both of those things to make a statement and keep their Big 12 title hopes alive, because a loss here virtually almost eliminates them from contention of the Big 12 championship as of right now, how it looks. Now, his series was first played in 1901, but did not become a yearly game till 1996. And the Sooners lead this series 28-3. They have dominated, and they're on a current 7 game win streak over the Bears. The last wins for the Bears came in 2013 and 14, with 2 big blowout wins over the Sooners in both Waco and Norman. Now, the stage is set for this giant matchup, man. This is good. Like I said, it's our game of the week. We only pick the biggest and best for that. So let's get down to the keys, for this game for each of these teams. Now, for the Sooners, you can point to one of few things, but for me, is going to be Caleb Williams. If the Sooners allow him to play his game, let him get loose this weekend, he is going to be the key for the Sooners and has been over the past few weeks, as they've really stepped up their offensive consistency and explosiveness. Williams' explosiveness for me has been the real difference in a Spencer Rattler-led Sooners rather than what we're seeing with Caleb Williams. So for me, even though he's young, they have talented running backs and everything like that, Caleb Williams is going to have a giant game this weekend, and Lincoln Riley is going to have to trust him to allow him to be the playmaker that we know he can be at that quarterback spot. When you break down what Williams has done so far, he's been one of the highest graded quarterbacks in the country since he's taken over the job for the Sooners. And the offense is averaging over 470 per game, over 42 points per game, which is top 5 in the country right now. So he's leading one of the most high octane offenses in the country. And it's mostly due to his explosive play through the air and with his legs. When you look at what he's done in only a short amount of time, over 70% of his passes being completed as a true freshman, almost 1,200 passing yards, over 10 yards per attempt, 14 passing touchdowns, only 1 turnover, 300 rushing yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns. This kid is putting on a show. Top 3 in passing touchdowns, and he hasn't even started a full season. third in completion percentage and leads the Big 12 in passing efficiency and is the only quarterback with a 200 plus passer efficiency rating as he's sitting at 203.7. Now, yeah, I mentioned the explosiveness, but one of the big differences between Williams and Rattler in this offense has been the ability for Williams to create his own plays. Over 50% of Rattler's dropbacks were off a play action concept, while Williams only relies on the play action under 40% of the time. And he actually excels when you put more wide receivers out there and he doesn't need the play action. He's just a playmaker that can go make something happen, while Rattler was really needing a lot of help from the run game to get the offense going. And I feel like it really limited what Lincoln Riley was able to do on the offensive side of the ball. Now, with no play action, you look at Williams completing almost 80% of his passes, over 800 yards, 12 yards per attempt, 7 touchdowns, a 95.5 PFF passing grade, and over 33 first downs generated. That's what he can do when you just give him the ball and say, go make a play through the air. Now, on top of that, the other thing that's been a big difference has been the downfield passing attack and the ability for the Sooners to attack the back end of a defense. When you look at Rattler, only 8% of his attempts were deep balls 20 plus yards down the field, and only 25% traveled 10 or more yards. With Williams, over 52% of his pass attempts have been on passes 10 or more yards down the field, and his ability to stretch the field deep has really been a missing component of this Lincoln Riley offense. That now that it's clicked, this offense is putting up major points. And really, outside of that Kansas game, they have been damn near unstoppable in terms of being explosive. So that's really been the key, and that's why he's my key this weekend. Is if the Sooners team with Williams can be explosive through the air and turn this into a shootout, it really plays into Oklahoma's hand and really gives them a great chance to win this game. Now, the wide receiving core is the other half of this key because they're going to have to be explosive. They're going to have to go make plays for their young quarterback, and they're going to have to find some separation against a very, very talented secondary, only allowing about 230 through the air per game this season against one of the best defensive minds in college football in Dave Aranda with a true freshman quarterback. So the wide receiving core is going to have to step up in a big way, and they spread the ball around a lot. There are a lot of people who have had significant touches through the air at the wide receiving core. So for me, these experienced guys, these guys that have a lot of talent are going to have to show up. You look at someone like a Jadon Hazelwood, 33 catches, over 300 yards, 6 touchdowns for Hazelwood this season. Mario Williams is going to have a big game, over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. And also Marvin Mims, over 600 yards receiving, 23 yards per catch, and 4 receiving touchdowns. I mentioned him this preseason as one of my favorite players in the country. Top 6 in the receiving yards, 7th in receiving touchdowns, and number 1 in the Big 12 in yards per catch right now for Marvin Mims. He is dynamite. I mean, dynamite in a bottle, and he is ready to explode anytime. And if Baylor's defense is not ready to I guess, contain Marvin Mims, it's going to be a long day. And also, you have Jeremiah Hall with 4 touchdowns. They can spread the ball around. So Baylor has to be real creative in how they're going to contain this very, very deep receiving core, along with what Caleb Williams could do deep down the field. Now, for Baylor, it should be obvious. It all starts with the rushing attack, which is one of the best in the country, and you can wear down this Oklahoma defense and keep that explosive offense off the field. For Baylor, you have to shorten the game. You have to grind it out, turn it into a low scoring, who can control the clock and who can just play more physical football, and that is how you're going to win the game. So Jerry Bohannon working off the play action and this duos of running backs that they have, they're going to have huge games this weekend. Now, for this Baylor rushing attack, averaging over 230 on the ground per game right now. That's top 10 in the country, while averaging over 6 yards per carry, which is one of the best marks in the country as well. And it's going to be the number one thing Oklahoma is going to have to try to stop because they are going to pound the ball down your throat. Abram Smith over 1,000 yards rushing, 7 yards per carry, 11 touchdowns. Treston Ebner, 600 yards, 6 yards per carry, a rushing touchdown. And also Bohannon with his legs, almost 200 yards rushing and 7 rushing touchdowns. They have a dynamic attack where they are going to pound it at you. But the key is Abram Smith. If he has a big game, Oklahoma could be in big trouble if he's able to control the pace of the game and keep this Baylor offense on the field for 35, 36, 37 minutes of this game. Now, the rushing attack is so diverse in how and where they can attack you. I mean, over 100 yards in 7 of the 8 possible rushing lanes, and they're most explosive off the edge. So a Nick Bonito, Mario Williams, these guys have to play big games on the edge. You have to set the edge and have to win those battles on the outside of that offensive line because they are going to kill you off the edge if you don't have strong edge defenders. Over 800 yards rushing come off the edge. They average over 8 yards per carry, 25 explosive runs generated, and the left tackle is where it's really key. Rushing off a left tackle, 550 yards rushing, 10 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns, over 300 yards after contact, and 18 explosive runs off the left end. Whoever is playing that left end spot, and I know Alex Grinch is probably going to rotate who comes off which end. That is going to be key. You have to set the edge against this Baylor rushing attack, or Abram Smith and these guys are going to have dominant days, and that's something Oklahoma cannot have as their defense on the field all game long. Now, the Bears may be a rush first team. Passing attack has been solid though, and they're one of the best in yards per attempt for a passing attack, and it shows how explosive it can be when this offense is firing on all cylinders. Bohannon over 65% completion percentage, almost 2,000 yards passing, 15 passing touchdowns, and 5 picks. Now, Bohannon ranks third in the conference in passing yards, second in passing touchdowns, and up until the past 2 weeks, only had 1 pick, but has really kind of struggled, especially last week against TCU in that loss. But for him, it has to come with the Bears rushing attack. Oh, almost 50% of Bohannon's dropbacks have been off the play action. And it just shows how important it is because his pro football focus passing grade jumps up to an 86 when working off the play action. So if Oklahoma can slow the run down, it's really going to affect what Jerry Bohannon can do through the air to this Oklahoma secondary that has been prone into giving up at least some yardage and some very efficient performances. You look at what Adrian Martinez did and some of these quarterbacks that they faced. So for me, slowing down the play action attack is going to be key because he's thrown for over 1,000 yards, over 10.5 yards per completion, 12 passing touchdowns, 6 big time throws, and over 49 first downs off the play action. And his deep ball is key too, where he grades almost a 92 in Pro Football Focus's passing grade in deep ball passing. The Bears' balance is what's also key. It's thrown off a lot of their opponents because once you load the box and stop this rushing attack, they have the ability to go deep on you and get behind you. So that balance has really kept defenses guessing on how to stop this offense. So Oklahoma's been solid against the run, only 3.4 yards per carry allowed, but they've allowed near 275 yards through the air per game. So Baylor's going to have to find a way to establish their run and then get some things working off the play action deep down the field for Bohannon against the secondary. So that's the key for Baylor. We had the key for Oklahoma. The last thing, man, the matchup to watch, and this is for me really going to determine who wins this game. It's going to be the Baylor front seven against this Oklahoma offensive line and Caleb Williams' scrambling ability because Baylor has to limit explosive plays. That is the key for this defense. And Williams outside the pocket is dangerous. But for Baylor, getting to a true freshman quarterback, making him feel uncomfortable in the pocket, and keeping the offense off rhythm and behind schedule is going to be key on the road in a big game like this. Now, the Sooners O-line's played well at times, but they've still given up the third most sacks in the conference with almost 20 sacks allowed this season. But with the mobility of Williams being added in, it's really helped the O-line protect the quarterback because he can make some plays outside the pocket when things break down and make some guys miss. Now, the tackle spot's really the strength for Oklahoma. Tyrese Robinson and Anton Harrison have been huge, only 20 total pressures allowed for them this season. And as an entire O-line, they've only allowed 47 QB hurries and 62 total pressures this season over their first 9 games. That's not bad production, but this weekend they're going to have to be strong against a Baylor attack that ranks almost I believe that they rank sixth in the Big 12 in sacks this season, so they have to be strong, in terms of pass protection. Now, Williams, though, is going to be an interesting key because him off the edge running has been a problem for Sooners opponents. So the Bears edge rushers have to be disciplined in their rushing lanes, set the edge, while the linebackers, who are one of the strengths of this defense, have to find a way to slow down Williams outside the pocket, spy him, be disciplined, and meet him in the hole, meet him off the edge, and not get caught up in all the mess inside. Because if that happens and Williams can bust one outside, it's going to be a big play, just like it always has been this season. Because off the edge, running off of either end outside the pocket, Williams has rushed for over 300 yards, over 17 yards per carry. That's key. It's a big play every time. 4 touchdowns, 13 first downs generated, and 8 explosive runs off the edge this season by Williams. So that is going to be key. And that's why I picked this matchup, because limiting his legs really helps your defense contain this explosive offense, because if they're getting anything they like and he's turning broken plays into big gains like that, it's going to be a long day for Baylor, and they're going to have a tough time pulling this upset. Now, and Baylor defensive front has been strong. Only 129 yards allowed, rushing less than 3.5 yards per carry allowed. And they've been a key for this top 20 scoring defense. Now, Siaki Ika at defensive tackle is going to have to be big from the LSU transfer. TJ Franklin and Gabe Hall off the edge have been some of the best edge rushers in the Big 12. They're going to have big games on the edge, because if you slow the rushing attack and can get to the quarterback, that's going to be key. And I'll imagine Aranda's going to be very creative in his blitz packages and his rush, and where he brings pressure, that Caleb Williams is going to have to feel a little bit of pressure on the road this weekend. I'm assuming Dave Aranda's has some wrinkles in this defense to really throw Lincoln Riley and this young quarterback off their game. Now, the X factors for me: Terrell Bernard and Dylan Doyle at the linebacking spots. They are X factors, because both of these guys, Bernard's already been an All-American. Doyle is probably going to be one at the end of this year, and Bernard could have been if he wasn't hurt. But Doyle leads this team in tackles, and he's been a playmaker all season, can get pressure on the quarterback, and can live in the backfield when he comes downhill. Same for Bernard. Both of these guys, especially Bernard, can play sideline to sideline, and that's going to be a key, slowing down Williams outside the pocket and really taking his legs away from him. Because if you allow him to get loose with his legs, it's going to be a problem for this Baylor defense all day long, because you cannot allow Williams to get extra yards outside the pocket. You've got to slow this offense down if you're going to have a chance to win this game for Baylor. So for me, that is why this is the matchup to watch. Bernard and Doyle have to have big games, and Williams has to help out his O-line and help out the running game and the passing game with his legs when things break down, especially on the road. So for me, looking at everything, man, I know a lot of people are picking this to be a huge upset alert, and I was leaning that way. But for me, watching film on this Oklahoma team since they made the quarterback change, and coming off a bye week, while Baylor's morale has to be down after that close loss to TCU, I'm going to lean Oklahoma in a very, very close matchup. I think it's back and forth. I think it's high scoring. But for me, I have Oklahoma pulling out the 38-34 win over the Baylor Bears with a late touchdown. I just personally think that Baylor's going to keep it close. But for me, Caleb Williams in this offense always seems to make a late play to win the game. I think they do that this weekend, just because this team's been on a different level since they made that quarterback change. So I got the Sooners 38, Bears 34, and a 4-point win for the Sooners in a huge Big 12 matchup. But guys, if you're new, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button for everybody, and comment your score predictions below to enter our Game of the Week giveaway. You get the score right and the winner right, you win our $50 Venmo giveaway, man. I appreciate y'all tuning into the Blue Bloods. We'll have another preview this afternoon. And as y'all know, man, we'll have our mailbag tonight, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. So tune in for that, for some big announcements at the end of that show. And the rest of the week, you can find all our college ball previews live right here on the Blue Bloods, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Hope y'all are having a great Tuesday. But for right now, man, the Blue Bloods are out.